Welcome again. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Sydney Gary, and I'm the Conference and Communications Coordinator with the Natural Start Alliance, tuning in from Richmond, Virginia. We are so lucky to be joined today by two wonderful staff members of the Evanston Public Library, located in Evanston, Illinois. And they're here to talk about the incredible, wonderful literary award that honors children's books about nature, the Blueberry Award. I wish I had blueberries raining on the screen now. All right, so to introduce our webinars a little today, every year Natural Start looks forward to co-hosting this webinar, announcing the Blueberry Award winners. We see children's literature as a powerful tool for connection, for communication, and for inspiration. In the context of nature-based early learning, storytelling offers very meaningful opportunities to nurture children's relationships with the natural world, to honor culturally diverse ways of being in relation to nature, and to spark thoughtful conversations and actions around environmental stewardship. The Blueberry Award began in 2021, and we've been so ecstatic to partner with this initiative ever since. The 2025 winner, honors, and changemakers were announced just last week on March 20th, and we have two Blueberry Award committee members, Martha Meyer and Betsy Bird, joining us today to walk you through the best new children's nature books published in 2025. So quickly to introduce our speakers, Martha is the founder of the Blueberry Awards. She's a He's a library assistant who has specialized in reading the best nature books to share with local toddler, preschool, and elementary school teachers for years. She's presented at nature play conferences, local NACCE meetings, nature preschool teacher conferences, and more. Betsy is the author of the School Library Journal Fuse Number 8 blog. She's the Evanston Public Library Collection Development Manager and a published author, most recently of Long Road to the Circus. Betsy makes the Blueberry Award possible by sharing the many advanced reader copies of books that publishers send her. She also supplies the prize, which is a Blueberry announcement in the School Library Journal's Fuse Number 8 blog. And that is the blog that librarians read to decide what books to buy. So Martha and Betsy, thank you for being here. I will now go ahead and pass it off to you.
Right.
All righty. Well, welcome to everyone that's here and everyone that's listening on a recording. We are here to share with you something we've spent more than a year getting ready for. When we are selecting these books, we are always thinking of you and how you're going to use them. And so it's thrilling to finally be able to talk to you after a year and about 3 months. That's when we started reading for 2025. Betsy, anything more to add?
No, I'm just downright delighted to be here. And we always look forward to this. We enjoy this talk. And we really like talking about these books. So now you've given us an excuse to do so. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, next slide. Okay, the Blueberry Award, it celebrates the best of children's eco-literature to try to inspire a love of nature and action for the planet for kids between 3 and 10. I know some of the providers here go younger than 3, so we also create a best nature board book list that we will be sharing highlights from as well. All right, next slide.
All right, criteria, because we don't just give these books to anybody, this award after all. We want the best of the best books that are out there. Only the rarest kind of best is good enough for our children, and we have some criteria for that. So we want books that show an excellence in the writing, the art, the design, that shows how nature and nature intersections, and most importantly, climate peril, we'll probably talk a little more about that, are done at a developmentally appropriate level. We don't want these books to be just a bunch of white people. We would like a bit of diversity in the world. All sorts of different types of people in these books. Thank you very much. We very much want these books to be grounded in real science. And to do that, many members of our committee are, in fact, scientists. Fancy that. And can tell us when, in fact, and this happens more than once, they will look at a book and say, I'm sorry, this is not factually accurate. Out she goes, if that's the case. And then We like books that sort of incite kids to take action, but in again a realistic way. We don't like the books that are like only you can save the polar bears, so don't throw out that straw. And it's like, okay. We like books that are a little more logical. And hey, bonus, any topics that coincide with our city, the city of Evanston's climate action and resilience goals. We love those. Those books are our favorites.
Next slide. Can you turn it? There we go.
I
All right.
think you're a little behind, Martha, because I think I turn it and you don't see it. So yeah.
Yes, I think I am behind. I'm sorry, everyone, for being behind. We also, in 2023, we attended a lecture from a researcher into children's climate anxiety. Her name is Louise Chalwa. She is formerly a professor at the University of Colorado Boulder. I know we have a couple Coloradans on the line, so you guys are amazing. She did lots of research into what creates climate anxiety for children and how best to mitigate it. She wasn't thinking about children's books, but we were able to translate, or at least we feel we are able to translate, some of the advice that she gave to therapists to children's books. So most important, you share a love of nature first and climate action second. Always group action, never doing anything on your own. This goes for adults as well as children. Always include practical suggestions for mitigating the actual problem that's shared in the text. Don't give me an amorphous good to do. I want to know exactly how I can fix the problem you just shared with me. Then always state or imply that adults are already engaged with this. You never say it is up to you or young people alone. You never imply, okay, we goofed up, but you have to fix it. And finally, follow child development guidelines about what kind of information kids can handle at which age. So there's one little rule of thumb that's really important. And I will tell you this because it is important for you to know, because authors often don't know it. And you will find yourself a beautiful nature book that is talking about the apocalypse going on amongst birds now because of the lack of insects. This is not something you share with young children. In fact, no doom and gloom before third grade. What you do in these cases is you share a local problem like this. The birds in your yard or in the schoolyard or in the nature center next door are in need of feeding their babies caterpillars. But the caterpillars only grow on native plants. Let's plant some more native plants. That is not talking about the the dropping of the insect population that's so terrifying, or the loss of birds that we're seeing. So it's really important that it's climate action. And I can tell you that I think we have done a terrible job in the media and elsewhere of following these criteria or even knowing about them. And they did research in Colorado. And of course, it was probably done by Lois Chalwa, showing that 82% of 10 to 12-year-olds are now fearing their climate future. We need to raise resilient kids that care about nature and feel that they can make a difference. And a lot depends on how we share information with them, and that includes books. Okay, next slide.
All right. This is I think this is also the broad range of skills, I believe.
Okay, sounds great. Just so you know, as Betsy's already shared, we have a lot of different people on the committee, more than just librarians, though we are very proud that at least one of our librarians has served on the Newbery Committee and other ALA award committees and spends her time teaching the rest of us how to do that. But, we have book selectors and book buyers on this committee. But in addition to that, we have a STEM specialist who used to be an animal keeper at the Peoria Zoo. We have two people from the Evanston Ecology Center, one a manager and one a board member, who's also a park district administrator. We have two PhDs on the committee, one in chemistry and one in early childhood development. We have school librarians that cover from preschool through middle school. We do have diverse folks on the committee, And we consult with more diverse folks that are not on the committee. We have a person who's been trained in writing for children. And of course, we have a children's author on the committee. We have sustainability managers from both the city and the school. And also, of course, I am a youth paraprofessional. I do not have the actual degree. There are plenty of us on the committee as well. All right, next slide.
So I am pleased to announce the 2025 Blueberry Award winner is none other than the Black Mambas, the world's first all-woman anti-poaching unit by Kelly Kroll. Kelly Kroll, who came to our big announcement of the Blueberry Awards just last week with his whole family. Just jumped in a car and they came on down. It was very nice to see him. This book, if you have not seen it, you are missing out. It was actually personally my own top pick for the Cyber. It didn't get a Cyber, but that's okay. It's gotten a Blueberry instead. The only problem with this book is that your kids will read this book and immediately all want to join all-woman anti-poaching units, which is a very difficult thing to do. But these women are superheroes. It is a good, nuanced, fun look at the work that they do, but it also never demonizes the poachers. It explains the economic background and why these people do that. But at the same time, we'd like some rhinos. So we have to stop them from the poaching. And this is like, it shows how complicated the issue is. But at the same time, these women are fantastic. It was a very cool book, but also highly informative. It was also no debate practically at all as to what the Blueberry was going to be. Like Black Mamas and everyone was like, duh. So it was our duh winner. Yeah. What else is it going to be? It's got to be that. So
more pictures. Show them more pictures.
Oh yes, I'm terribly sorry. Yes, fantastic. Kelly Kroll is himself a photographer. So I don't think he took that picture of that big mamba. If he did, I don't think he'd be with us. But he did take pictures of the women themselves, showing how they patrol the reserve. There's a wonderful sort of seek and find, like how many snares can you spot in this image? And the answer is you can't, because you're not highly trained like they are. There he is posing with some of the women that saved his life on more than one occasion. He told us one incident that involved an elephant. That's fun. So yes. And then yes, Martha, you're doing the Changemaker winner.
Changemaker. Okay. Because we're so lucky to have the sustainability manager for the school district and the sustainability manager for the city on our committee, we put them to work and we tell them they need to pick out the book that has the best change-making instruction in it. And this fabulous early childhood book called Safe Crossing was one of their picks. Kari Percival is just a wonderful writer. I believe she did the art on this as well. There's a family, and they are involved with the amphibian migration team, helping frogs and salamanders cross the road to an ephemeral pond. And then that young citizen scientist who's on the front cover there's all the frogs and salamanders, aren't they fabulous? The young citizen scientist gets the idea that maybe carrying them across the road, and since they can't man it all the time, is not the most efficient activity. And then she suggests to her father that they get a underpass on the road. And of course, this is one of those books where it really shares how difficult that is. She has to go to the city council and make presentations. She has to enlist her neighbors. And it's a wonderful citizen science book. And the art is so beautiful, as you can see, as you are seeing as it's streaming by. So this is the Blueberry Changemaker winner for picture books. And here's Dad and his daughter.
The creator is in the chat, so that's
kind
of
wonderful.
Cool.
Kari, you are amazing.
Yes. Oops.
Yes, one more. And then we also, I know this is not perhaps what you're teaching, but we wanted to also share that we named a Blueberry Changemaker winner for middle grade. It's a wonderful pep talk from British Caribbean author Michaela Loach. She is just a powerhouse and will encourage older elementary kids, early middle school kids to tackle the crisis in a positive way by tying it also to social justice issues. She is a powerhouse, and she always dresses all in pink, and she says that makes thrifting much easier. That makes me love her even more. But in any case, just a terrific book, but for older age range, 8 to 12, than what we're dealing with here. Okay, there's a wonderful program called the Blueberry Votes programs. There are two of them now. We started with Blueberry Votes, a Children's Choice Award for early elementary school kids, that's K through second, where kids choose a winner from 5 nominees that we provide to teachers and school librarians in September. But anyone in the nature education realm can participate in that if you work with K through second kids. Then there's the Preschool Blueberry Votes program, also a Children's Choice Award that we run first time this year, where kids 3 to 5 get to vote on one of 3 nominees that we supply in the fall. All you need to get from us is the book titles and the QR code for your reporting. And as long as we have your email address, we can send it out. And we announce the books in the program at the end of August, so there's plenty of time to buy them before the due date, which is usually around the 15th of January. So it is a very cool program. We love to involve you in it, but more importantly, we have some winners to announce. Next slide. All right, this was the winner of the K through second grade kids, mostly in the state of Illinois, though we're most looking to be nationwide. It's called We Are the Wibbly, A Tadpole's Tale, and it is a hilarious introduction to the frog life cycle. Let's look at some of those pictures. The frog, well, the pre-frog, the proto-frog is narrating this, and he says, "We are the Wibbly. We float and we are very relaxing." It's so good. And the next one. Okay, he's noticing that some of his peers have sprouted legs, but it hasn't happened for him yet. Oh no. And then the next. Finally, oh my crikeys, you will not believe this. You will think I am making up the story. And he talks about his 2 things that have emerged near his head. So obviously his, what we would call arms. Anyway, it's adorable, adorable picture book, but it will definitely introduce you to all the science of the frog life cycle, and in a way that kids will love to have it read over and over to them. Next book.
The next book, I have the honor of this one. This comes from a Japanese couple. One is the author, one is the illustrator. If you think you can do this in your story time, you will wow them, but you need to practice first. Onomatopoeia has never had a finer book than Downpour. Downpour is laden with the sounds of rain, and the story is just fantastic. You know, you've got this kid who initially is not that keen on the fact that he's been caught in a rainstorm. By the way, check out this art, just completely gorgeous, I have to say. And then he gets into it. And oh boy, does he get into it. Now, if you are attending the American Library Association conference in June in Chicago, I have the good news that the author will be there. And there is a sequel to this coming out based on snow. But yeah, that's something for you to look forward to. And this, I've already prefaced it, but then there is the another bit of a changemaker winner, which also happened to win the Cybert Award. And that is, of course, American Library Association's award for Best Children's Informational Text. This is Alberto Salas plays Paka Paka Como Papa, which is a potato hide and seek book. Now, this could have been very boring and very dull, and it is very not. It is a picture book biography, but it is also just a fascinating look at this actual scientist, Alberto Salas, who in Peru has to find wild variations of potatoes in order to save them and keep them from going extinct. the fact that there is more than one potato out there may be a shock to a couple children. Maybe they've seen one or two, maybe three different potatoes, but the sheer number of potatoes is something else. There's the man himself, the real Alberto Salas, looking for his potatoes. And it's got the gorgeous art of Juana Medina, who, and a very cruel move, had two
Wait,
beautiful.
Juana
I'm sorry.
Martinez Neal.
Neil. I always forget the Neil. My bad. That's on me. And really just going out of her way to show just fantastic images. And it's fun. That's the crazy thing. Reading this aloud is fun. Showing it to the kids is fun. The whole darn thing is downright enjoyable, and you can't help but love it. So, yeah. And then that brings us to the Blueberry Award books. Martha, why don't you start us off?
Yes, of course. Watching and Waiting What Hatches from Nature's Nurseries is groundbreaking. It is the first book that we are aware of and that the author is aware of about galls. Now, I did not know what a gall was, but it is like a pimple on a leaf. It's not just about galls, it's also about egg cases, and it's about uh, and finding eggs as well. And this book answers that question. What should I do if I find eggs or an egg case or galls in nature? If you open them up, what's growing inside will die. Instead, watch and wait, and you'll be rewarded with something amazing. This is a treasure, this book. And we tested it with, this was one of the books that the children could vote on in the preschool blueberry votes program. Oh, here they are all hatching. Aren't they cool? Isn't that worth waiting for? Um, and then the next slide. This is a picture from a forest preschool in not too far from Chicago, outside of Chicago, and it's Megan Gessler at Little Explorers Forest Day Camp near Naperville, and she said that she introduced this book to the kids, and they became obsessed with finding galls. So you too can turn your preschoolers or early elementary school kids into gall hunters. It is a wonderful book about galls, but it's more significantly a book about how best to examine nature. Cutting it up and killing it is not always the best way to learn about nature. And I love how she's sharing that with children, a debate that, of course, takes place at a very high level in scientific nature circles. And I just think it's beautiful what she's done. This is a nature educator herself who has decided, well, there wasn't a book about galls, and so I'm going to write one. She's a true blueberry because that's exactly how the blueberry got started. We were waiting for the American Library Association to create this award, and they didn't, and so we did it. Next slide.
Extra points, by the way, to Megan, who in the chat said gulls just want to have fun. So
Is this me or you?
this is you, my darling.
Oh, yes. Okay. This is such a beautiful book. This book is written by two British Caribbean an author and an illustrator, who've been to, goodness, I can't remember which, I think it's the Dominican Republic. It is so gorgeous. Oh, Barbados. Sorry, Barbados. A shy young girl stands up for a juvenile Caribbean shark against bullies who want to capture and sell it. The interesting thing is this is based on a story from Marissa Dulac's life. Her father in Barbados was the one who found a shark and did sell it to the fishermen, did get quite a bit of money for it, and then felt guilty for the rest of his life. And so she has written this fabulous book, and it is beautifully illustrated about a young girl who sees a shark, a juvenile shark in the shallows, and the tide has gone out and it is stuck. And so it is gorgeous. And she digs down into an ancient place in herself. This is part of the text of the book, and decides to say, no, you can't have this shark to sell. It's beautiful. And it's all about standing up for nature as a child. And so even though it is very much set in Barbados and has a strong sense of Barbados in the text. It is also a international book about children standing up for nature. So even if you don't have sharks near where you are, we certainly do not in Illinois. This is a wonderful book to read to children to engender love of nature and the defense of it. Next book.
It's all you. You know this one's all you.
Well, some of you may have seen me talking about Poo Pile on the Prairie in the past, so I can make this quick. We used a discussion of Poo Pile on the Prairie as an advertisement for this wonderful webinar. But this is Amy Hevron, one of my very favorite authors. She has a whole series of tiny habitats, microclimate books, and this is one of them. And this is about what happens over the course of a year to when a baby bison, a red dog, poops out a poo on the prairie, and who moves in and what kind of creatures does it attract and how does it help the ecosystem? And of course, it's detritivores. The beetles come in first, lay their eggs, and then that attracts birds, and then the seeds sprout the flower seeds that the bison ate, and all kinds of other critters become involved. It's a fabulous microclimate introduction to the prairie for kids, and it doesn't hurt that it's about poo. Okay, next book.
It's also you.
Hey, we're making a sandwich. Okay, if you are in any way helping children compost or teaching them about composting or introducing composting to kids or families, this is the way to go. Because Worm keeps telling us he's going to make us a sandwich, and it doesn't sound good because he's talking about all the critters in the compost pile, and he's talking about what they eat and poop, and it sounds absolutely disgusting. But in the end, of course, the compost is put on the garden. It creates the most luscious tomato, and there's your sandwich. So, oh, Martha Brockenbrough, who wrote another one of these wonderful books. She says she's an Amy Hevron fan too, back from the Poo Pile on the Prairie. In any case, this is a lovely introduction to composting, hilarious and funny and sort of gross out and just wonderful. Can't get better.
Yeah. All right, this one's finally me. Ha 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 ha. Sky That Sings. This is a rather lovely book that explains that an appreciation of nature does not rely on a single sense. You can appreciate nature in many different ways. And so a girl goes out with her aunt, and to be fair, her aunt is a little not down with understanding her niece when it comes to the fact that they're going bird watching. And she's like, the aunt's taking the obvious, like, how is that possible? And in fact, her niece is quite good at identifying the birds by their sounds. And so they walk through the park, listening to the different sounds as they go. We are a big fan of books that do a lot of different bird sounds in the course of a book. And then you can learn about what those bird sounds can be. And then, of course, what we really like is when you read a book and then you can do what the characters in the book have been doing. So you can take your class, you can take your children, you can take whatever small humans you happen to have access to and take them on a bird walk themselves, and they will very, very much enjoy it. And we rather like this book itself. So there you go. And then, oh, I am we. Inconveniently not an American illustrator, hence couldn't win Bupkis when it came to ALA's Caldecott Award. But I am here to say that it might have had quite a strong chance, and I think you will agree when you see some of this. This is a fascinating book. It talks about crows and their behavior, but the fact that crows as individuals find it's much better to be part of a group in order to survive. And so it talks about that, but also like, come on, that art is incredible. If you like crows, if you are crow neutral, you will adore this book. And if you don't even like them, I think it might win you over to a certain extent because it's a very fun read aloud text, but also just a fascinating look at your average everyday murder, as they say. So there you go. And then Salmon Run. That is also me. I thought I knew how salmon were born. They're not eels. They're not completely mysterious. As it turns out, I didn't know bupkis. It turns out salmon are absolutely fascinating. This book, reviewers overuse the word luminous. I get it. It's freaking luminous. I'm sorry. Look at that. Look at that. It goes through the stages of not just, we all know the salmon go up the river and they go to their spawning grounds, and that's cool. But this goes like way before that to talk about what they look like before all that happens, the different colors that they change into, and just the fact it's a miracle we even have fish at all because everything wants to eat them, particularly these tasty fish. So this is a beautiful, I'll say it again, luminous, really in-depth look at the salmon and what their lives entail. So check that out. And this one's so cool. Now, if you Evanston Public Library has a YouTube page, and you will see a very cool video of this real life father-son duo who wrote this book together about their beekeeping. And then I know what you're saying. We've seen a million children's books about bees. How are these any different? It is. I hate to say it, but this is just really cool. It's got kind of a real world, but also drawings kind of component. There's almost like a graphic novel feel, but then it's just like the logistics of running a farm with bees, and what does that entail, and how do you harvest the honey? And it's just got a lot of really cool elements that I haven't seen in bee books for kids before, or at least not seen in such a fun way. The book is deeply fun, deeply interesting, and yes, packed with both photographs and drawings and comics. And look, you just want to get the kids interested in the bees. Comics is the way to go. I love my comics, and this book takes complete advantage of that fact, as you can see. And that brings us over to the board books, Martha.
Yes. Okay. As I promised you, we do name the best nature board books of the year for anyone working with young children. We do not limit our board books to those that are just good for babies. We also have a broad range of board books that go up to older than 5-year-olds. But if they're in the board book format and they're about nature, we love to include them. It's very exciting. We have 4 years of the list available online. There's the website, which I promised to many other people in the chat. This is where you find everything about the blueberry, but you can get 4 years of the list on this. There are two guessing games here right next to each other. Whose egg is that? And Guess Who? Both of them are cool board books that have kids guess about what might be coming out of the egg or hiding in the ocean. But we have a few that we'd really like to highlight. Next slide, Betsy.
Mhm.
This is a beautiful book by one of my favorite board book creators. Her name is Laura Purdy Salas. She is a poet, and she makes her poetry really accessible for kids. This is all about the homes that animals build. The art is lovely and quiet. The science is accurate. And this is something that I can see you reading before nap time, but it is about animals and where they live. And as you read it, you begin to feel comforted. I tell you, it is a lovely story, and perfect for young children. Here's the one about the bird, and what kind of a house it builds for its babies. And then next slide.
I love these board books because they got handles. You can just slip your hands into the little gaps there, and you can take them with you when you go hiking or when you go camping. It's kind of strange how few hiking and camping books we've had until now. We've had occasionally one over here, one over there, but nothing really on the younger end of things. And let me tell you, when you're in the middle of the wilderness and your kid is claiming that they are bored, it's good to have a book along. I'll just say it. It's always good to have a book along. And these are great because it identifies the different ways to camp. So if you're going glamping versus going camping, it's kind of covered in there to a certain extent. Talks about the tent. It talks about what you can and cannot see, but of course there's different kinds of camping and there's different kinds of people shown in the books, which is also a very good thing and something we're very much a big proponents of. And sort of along the same lines, I would say, was this pair of books that came out. And I understand that when you see that MIT Kids Press at the top, you're like, oh, that looks wordy. It's not. As you can see, it's quite simple, but it goes through two different things. How a river sort of comes to be, which is sort of a massive idea, and how a rock goes from one location to another. So it's taking these big ideas, but it makes them real simple. Now, obviously, we're not doing these for babies. This is more for your toddlers, preschoolers, probably more like your preschoolers era of board book readers. But even so, just a really fun sort of culling it down to its most essential elements. So it's also, the history of the earth on top of an appreciation of nature, which does, and I would point out to you, involve rocks. So there you go. And then that leads us into the middle grade books to support teachers. Martha, could you say a little more about that?
Yes, we have done this presentation many times with you since 2021, as Sydney was sharing with you, and we realized that we kind of left something out. This book goes up to 10 plus, meaning kids that are in the beginning of middle school, and sometimes a children's book is the best way to prep for teaching young children. So we wanted to share just a few of the books that we picked out that we thought might be great for you to know something about. Detective Dogs is a fabulous book for older kids. It is all about invasive plants. Most of them are in the west of this country, and not so much as Midwest. But she points out all these invasive plants and why they need to leave, and then the unbelievable role that dogs play in this work. If you have a dog that nobody wants to adopt because he's very fixated on his toys, then that is the perfect dog to work as a nature investigator to find stands of invasive plants that need to be taken down in the wilderness. So that's a fabulous book. There's also a book, The Great Narwhal Rescue by Sandra Markle. She is a long-standing nature writer. She's been holding up the nature for years and years for all of us. She talks about noise pollution in nature here. The Kaolawe is an island in the Pacific that was confiscated by the U.S. military and used as a bombing practice for World War II. And the U.S. military destroyed the ecosystem of this sacred island. And the Hawaiians have finally, the native Hawaiian peoples have finally been able to reclaim it and are beginning the rewilding work. So if you are in the midst with young people of a rewilding a degraded landscape, this is the ultimate hopeful book. And then the nutrient cycle is such a great science piece of information. And the same woman that wrote the lovely book about taking a bird listening walk also wrote this intense science book about how scientists are using scat to research more about species. And I think you will be fascinated by it. So these are the kind of books that you can use to prepare yourself to get ready to talk to kids in a knowledgeable way about certain topics. And Betsy has two that she really wants to share with you.
Oh, I really want to share. I cannot tell you guys enough how excited I am to share these books because these are, oh, okay. So you know how I said before, oh, bees, we've seen it all done before, but that's honeybees. We've seen lots of kids' books about honeybees, 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 honeybees. What about wild bees? And I learned so much from this book. This book is amazing. It talks about all the wild bees. Did you know that your tomatoes are not pollinated by honeybees, and in fact cannot be pollinated by honeybees because wild bees vibrate at just the right frequency that lets the pollen shoot out from the flowers of the tomato plants. Only wild bees can pollinate your tomatoes. I had no idea. This thing is chock full of interesting facts just like that. And it's really interesting. And then it shows all the range of colors, like the blue wild bees. And of course, my nemesis from my youth, the sweat bee, who I still have not forgiven for being so awful to me when I was a child. Those doggone sweat bees. But anyway, they're in there and they are very useful. And it inspired me to make a bee hotel, honestly, in my backyard, because I'd always been like, I guess, I mean, they're not honeybees, should I really do a bee hotel? Yes, I should do a bee, because these folks are fascinating. This book is so fun to read and will give you so much information that a kid has not enjoyed before. And then maybe you'd want to eat them. Well, okay, let me go back and say that. So bug snacks. the fact of the matter is, when it comes to protein, and protein's quite hot right now, we like our meats, but our meats is killing the planet. So we like this book because this book talks about how in a lot of places in the world people are eating bugs. And by this point, you're watching this webinar and you're thinking, these people are really into poop and eating bugs. And yes, we are, because it's interesting. And we like these things because we're essentially 5 years old. But this is a whole book on eating bugs. And I just how great it is and how it's useful. And yes, you have that kind of like response, but maybe you should try one once in a while. And I came this close to making cricket flour brownies for the blueberry committee that was considering this book. And then I lost my flour, but I found it again. So at some point here, we're going to have us some cricket brownies. Yes, we are. And although, by the way, this book is just fun to read through. The entire thing, you can just go through it. It keeps it interesting the entire way. And it's just chock full of fascinating, and yes, they're kind of gross, facts. And I think that, right. So then, I don't know how this,
Let's do a really fast one here.
okay,
We
why
have
don't
more
you do
books. We have so many books we want to share with you that we have sort of a lightning round here. This is called Families of a Feather, a celebration of family diversity. It's an introduction to all the different ways that birds structure their families. And it is remarkably open, this book, to different kinds of family diversity that happens naturally. Um, so it's gently sharing nature's queer variety. And I was amazed by this book, and it's terrific. So if you want to read about different bird families, that's the book to go to.
Yeah. For my part, you know, when you've got like a class assignment and all the kids get to pick a different bean and they plant it, and then everybody's comes up except for yours. This is that book. It is the reality of the situation. And why didn't the bean come up? So, first of all, this has amazing classroom applications. And at the end, the kid sees all the seeds that didn't get planted and takes those and is able to plant all of those. So, this has like, it's a real life sort of situation that happens to kids all the time, but it's also like a really good idea for a classroom experiment. And it shows the sheer range of beans and seeds out there. It is really good. Gotta check it out. Oh, is this one me? Yeah, this one's me. This is cut paper. It's kind of hard to tell on the screen here, but this is a cut paper discussion of how easy it is for things to go extinct when you're not really watching. There was a guy, he decided to start counting some of the, you know, these are they tortoises or turtles? They're turtles. Turtles in, you know, in Hawaii. And eventually he came to the realization that there were only 67 of them left. And he was like, oh shoot. And managed to get people involved and rallied and helped to save them, but really only came up because he happened to notice. And I really enjoyed this book because of that, because sometimes that's what it takes, people. Martha, you got to do your favorite here.
Okay, this is my favorite book of the year. It's called A Gift of Dust, How Saharan Plumes Feed the Planet. And thanks to Martha Brockenbrough, who is on the webinar right now. This is a stunning introduction to an idea that you may never have had. Certainly I never had. There is a fossil bed, a dry lake bed in Chad, and the wind blows through the Sahara and it whisks that dust from the fossils up into the air. And you would think, so what? Well, apparently it has an effect on how much rain falls in the Amazon and whether the hurricanes in the Caribbean are destructive or not. This is amazing, and it will give your children and yourself, and I'm recommending yourself, an idea of the interdependence of nature. Who knew that this lake in Chad had such a profound effect on our lives? And on the lives of the rainforest in the Amazon, and the effect of the power of the hurricanes, or the lack thereof of the power of the hurricanes in the Caribbean. Just amazing. It is beautiful. It is artistic. This is also done by Juana Martinez Neal, who wrote the Alberto Salas plays Paca Paca Con La Papa which won the Cybert Award. And I have to say, her art in this may even be better than it was in the Cybert winner. This is just a stunning book. Give it as a gift to the adults in your life, and then they can read it to the children. throughout the world because we should know how interdependent we all are. It is a beautiful lesson and one that you will not tire of reading over and over. All right. We got very lucky this year. We had two curriculum development specialists and a PhD in early childhood development on our committee, and we made good use of those specialists. They were reading books that were published recently in 2025 that we thought would be particularly helpful to nature educators. And so they reviewed them and eliminated some to make sure we didn't have the wrong information or confusing books to share with you. Every Drop Counts is by a Chicagoan, a Chicagoland person. Her name is Ann Gadzikowski, and her daughter is a hydrologist, a scientist, and together they wrote this book, Every Drop Counts, about how to work with preschoolers and water and how to teach them things about it. It is brilliant, and get a chance to take a look at this. This will change your practice if you are working with young children. And then another local Chicago person who works for Open Lands, which is a fabulous organization in Evanston, preserving nature and helping school kids enjoy it. This is a book written by Jessica Fong. It is written as a series of introductions by various BIPOC members of the nature educator community sharing about their work with BIPOC kids. And it is just so inspiring and powerful. And it is a balm to the soul, I tell you. And then there's some other books that we thought were just not the best for kids, but just so fabulous for the adults in kids' lives. Nature Explained goes through 20 natural cycles and explains them with easy to understand diagrams. Gorgeous book, and it's like a primer for being a nature educator. So get a copy of this from your local library. And then Omnibird is actually for kids that are in upper elementary and middle school. It's a deep dive into learning about birds and bird everything about birds. It's called Omnibird, and totally great for preschool teachers, elementary school teachers to have on hand so that they can prep themselves for any kind of book work, bird work that you want to be doing. So that resources list is going to be is available on the same website that we shared previously, which we will share again. But next slide.
Now we'll have to speed through these if we want to get some questions.
Yes. Well, one of the things that Betsy buys at the library, in addition to some children's books, is she also buys our adult books. And she buys some of the best, coolest ones. Anyway, the Blueberry Committee does not limit itself to just reading children's books. We also sometimes read adult books. And so we have an adult recommendations list of 2025 books that we thought were just absolutely fantastic in case you want to do some adult reading. These books are amazing. I want to tell you just about one. It's called My Head for a Tree. This is about a small Indian, and that is India and the continent of India, sect that believes in their religious practice that their lives are put on earth to protect animals. And that may not sound so amazing to you, but they protect animals to the point of losing their lives. And the people that are most appreciated, the so-called, what we might call saints for these people, are people who have died in the line of helping animals and trees survive. My Head for a Tree is an actual incident from the way past in India where a Raj wanted to cut down a forest and the village stood up to the Raj, and anyone who was hugging a tree lost their head. It's a literal discussion. And this is the book that returns to me again and again after reading it last year, because so often people will say to you, well, unless they make recycling easy, or unless they make, getting rid of plastic from my life simple, I really don't want to do it. It's inconvenient. And then that image comes back into my mind of someone who was willing to give their life for the continued existence of a tree. And I thought, we don't know from nothing. We have a lot to learn. Anyway, next slide. Different ideas of how to use the Blueberry list. First of all, I hope you use it as a buying guide for books you can take out in nature with your kids. I hope it inspires your story times. It's also a great opening to a nature STEM activity. If you're about to plant seeds, you could read Bean Sprout, or if you're about to study rocks, you could read that lovely board book about rocks. If you're going to take a bird listening walk, you could read that beautiful book about the young blind girl who took her aunt on a listening walk to her local park. If you want to learn about frogs or ephemeral ponds, or as you can see, and there's so many books we haven't had a chance to present from 2025. Also, we provide the flyer. I have not done this yet for 2025, but 2024 and back, we have the flyers all available of the book lists that we created over the years. Within the next week, I will have the flyer up for the 2025 list. You can share this list with your parents on Earth Day to help them, the parents of the kids that you work with, to help them and guide them to the very best nature books for their children. They will love you forever. At least that's what I'm hoping. We get a new list every March on the vernal equinox, just in time. So you have about a month and a half to get those books in before Earth Day buying. Anytime that you're asked to collaborate on Earth Day or celebrate Earth Day with your kids, it's a great resource for you to use, either for a story time or a handout or for sharing with partners. Also, local libraries would love to collaborate with you, or local schools on an outdoor book walk or an outdoor story time. We've done book walks in our local park. How to Bird by Rasha Hamid is such a brilliant one. This is the 2023 Blueberry winner, and it really equips all kinds of children, including urban kids, to go out and bird and what that means and how to do that. There was also a gorgeous book that initiated the Blueberry winner for us called How to Find a Fox by Kate Gardner, with these incredible illustrations from a young Finnish photographer. This is perfect to put up to help kids understand how quiet they need to be in order to see a fox. It's just a beautiful book, that wonderful to the way you do this is you get 2 copies of the book, and then you get them laminated, and then you can put out every single laminated piece on a garage sale sign. You can buy them for cheap at your local like hardware store, and you can make this so simple at almost no cost. And it's a great collaboration with local libraries, your park district, your local school. Kids can walk to school reading about how to bird. I mean, wouldn't that be great? And then, of course, we do our best to include the very best of Indigenous books about nature. So there's a wonderful book. This was the Co 2023 winner, Gift of Manuman, which is the wild rice, which is neither wild nor related to rice, written by a Ojibwe woman who is a professor at the University of Guelph in Canada. There's also this gorgeous book called The Bee Mother by Brett Hewson. If you're looking, Moon Song by Michaela Goad is just so gorgeous. You know, she won the Caldecott for her pictures. And then that beautiful book I talked to you about, Koholave, about an island and her people by Kamalani Hurley. Just a wonderful book to consider what it's like for people to try to rewild an area that has been polluted beyond repair. Just so helpful to be led by the Indigenous knowledge that is still among us. So I'm sure you can think of many other uses for the Blueberry books. You are doing more of this than we are, but we wanted to make sure you have the website. Now, this is the one thing you might want to take down, though I think it was probably in the chat also. Anytime you want something Blueberry, it's www.epl. EPL stands for Evanston Public Library .org/Blueberry, and all these riches will be yours.
Oh my gosh. I'm with the person in the chat who says their shopping cart is like maxed out right now. So excited about this book list. Thank you, Betsy and Martha. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to close us out. Okay. Yes. So thank you again, Martha and Betsy, for sharing with us the latest and the greatest children's nature books, and also the additional tips and resources on how to incorporate them in our learning spaces. Okay, and now what we've all been waiting for. Just kidding. I know you guys were here for the Blueberry Awards, but this is an additional perk. I am so excited to announce that the winner of the 2025 Blueberry Award-winning book, Black Mambas by Kelly Cruel, is Phyllis McKenzie. Phyllis, if you are still here, I will be sure to reach out to you in the next day or two with next steps to retrieve your copy. Congratulations to Phyllis McKenzie. And just to close us out, a reminder of the other big news today that NatCert 26 registration is open. This year's annual event will take place June 24th through the 27th in San Antonio, Texas. We also have an online conference option. The in-person conference is going to be a wonderful 4-day event in partnership with the San Antonio Zoo and the Will Smith Zoo School. We have a lineup of special meetings taking place on the Wednesday, June 24th, 2 full days of concurrent sessions on Thursday and Friday, June 25th through the 26th, and then optional add-on site tours at local San Antonio nature-based early learning programs. The online conference features year-long access to over 50 on-demand sessions, the opportunity to tune into a live online workshop, and access to professional development certificates of participation for every session that you watch. You can learn more about this year's event and offerings and register to attend at conference.naturalstart.org. We hope to see you there. That's all I have for today. Thanks again for joining us. Martha, Betsy, thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and then we'll see you next time.